First of all, Gabby, let's start with your earliest memory. Do you remember your first day in the boxing gym?
Oh, my first day in boxing gym, I was about 10 years old when I was in a boxing gym. I was 10 years old, and the reason I was there 10 years old is I was following my older brothers. My two older brothers were trying to get into they went to be in the sport boxing. So I remember I went with them just to see what it was about.
And did you enjoy it straight away?
I enjoyed it. I liked it, and I was there, and I would go there from that day. I remember going every day, and I would go there, and I would do whatever they told me I would do. We would run about 2 miles, and I was like 10 years old, but I did enjoy it.
Obviously, 10 years old is a very young age. At what point did you feel like boxing is all you wanted to do?
Mm, well, see, at that point when I was 10 years old, um, boxing. I mean, I really got intrigued by the sport. I really liked it, and then I would hear my father about fighters that were going to fight at that time. It was Cassius Clay. I remember my father saying this week Cassius Clay is going to fight. So and they will make a big deal out of it, and I said, "Wow, I want to know what's going on." So all that just got me into the sport, and I enjoyed everything.
As a young child, what was it like to see people like Cassius Clay, with the way he was, the way he spoke, the way he performed?
Well, and what my father would say, and my other relatives, uncles, they would say, yeah, he's quick and how he moves, and I really, and when I saw Cassius Clay, when I saw him fight, I said, man, that is true. This guy can fight, and I love the way he boxed. So that was one of my inspirational points as well.
Talk to me about your amateur career, Gabby. You started competing. How did it feel to compete and win?
Uh, well, it's as a 10-year old, I had three fights. I had three fights at 10-year old, and then for some reason the coaches left, and when they left, I was devastated, knowing I wasn't gonna be boxing because there was no coach at that time. It wasn't until when I was about 14 or 15 years old when I started hearing that there was other coaches at another boys club that was about a mile and a half away. They were starting training there, and so I got into, that's when I really started fighting as a 14 and 15-year old, uh, going to the Golden Gloves and winning and knowing, just to me it was a sport that I've always enjoyed. I've always enjoyed the boxing sport.
So, aged about 15 to 16 years old, you start taking it, I suppose, a little bit more seriously in terms of competitiveness, tournaments, and things like that. And it was only a few years later you turned professional, 19 years old. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, after winning my Golden Gloves and experiencing other, traveling with other teams, because I would get invited to go representing a certain, the region. I would be invited to go to other parts, to fight other cities, and then that gave me a lot of experience in the boxing world. The boxing, in the amateur, at that time it was the amateurs. Then winning the regional Golden Gloves and twice, and then I never won state, though I did beat the guy that won, the championship. I did beat him before, but in the state it was, for some reason, I lost the fights. Uh, but then at 19, that's when my trainer said, your style is not for an amateur fighter. I mean, your style is really more as a professional. You will do a lot better as a professional than as an amateur, and it makes sense because at that time, I mean, it would take me a while to get warmed up. So when I turned 19, they said we're gonna turn you. You want to turn pro? We talked. They talked to my parents. I talked to my parents. They said, yeah, that's what you want to do. Do it. So at 19, that was my first professional fight.
So it was 1979, May 7th. One in Banal was your debut opponent. Obviously victorious. It was an early night for you. It was a knockout win, I believe, quite early in the fight. How did that feel to win your first fight as a professional and, of course, get paid for it as well?
Well, it was. I mean, it was. I just found it a little strange because it was something I like to do. The and then getting paid, So it was. I was 19 years old and fought this guy. We went. It was scheduled for 6 rounds, 6 rounds. Because I never started with 4 rounds. To my fights were 6 rounds. Those were my fights from 6 rounds up. So and then winning in the I don't recall if it was the first or second round that I remember just gave him a good shot and he went down and that was it. It was easy for me. It seemed easy.
And it was the same for your first nine fights. You won by knockout or stoppage in your first nine fights. Did you ever feel at that point invincible in a way?
Yes, yes, I did feel like I could go very far. I felt like I could do something in the sport. So yeah, I've always had that the discipline, uh, the um, the discipline that's involved. In boxing, you have to have a lot of discipline and the determination, and I had my goal of winning titles. So all that put together, that's what made me who I was. And I had a lot of knockouts first three fights, and I was fighting some people that were experienced. I fought maybe two fights in 6 rounds, but they didn't go the distance. Then I fought like two or three fights at 8 rounds, didn't go the distance. Then I jumped into the 10th round for 10 rounds. So like my fifth or sixth fight, sixth the sixth fight, I was I think fighting already like 10 rounds.
Now, your fight number 10 was against Mario Nova. It was the first time that a fight went the distance, and it was also the first time that you lost a professional bout. How did you deal with that defeat?
Mhm. Well, I was disappointed because I thought I was going to be able to knock out everybody. Having that experience, I said, "Man, I'm going to knock this guy. I'm going to knock this guy." So, but then I realized I know I hit hard, but but there's a lot of people that can take a punch as well. So that's when I learned my lesson. I have to, always try and be even if don't think of a knockout. Think of just you're gonna go there and win by whether it's decision or knockout. You still, a win is a win. So, um, but I did was disappointed when I lost my first fight.
Did your mindset towards your future fights from that point onwards change?
Yes, because at that time I started training even harder to make it harder for my opponents to be able to take my punch. Because I believe that the harder I trained, uh, the better condition I was gonna give them more. I was gonna put more pressure on them, or I would be able to deal with their pressure. They put the pressure on me. I was gonna be able to, to deal with that pressure, and I was not gonna get tired. I was gonna be there ready to fight.
And it obviously worked. Your next 15 fights, you won them all, including avenging your defeat to Nova. How did that feel to overturn that and get your revenge on him, essentially?
Um, I felt good because that's what I had planned. I planned. Uh, my plan was to stay undefeated throughout my career, but I know now we know what happened. But when I defeated him, I felt good, and I felt good because this person that I fought, which was his name was Mario Nava. Um, he was a very experienced fighter, fighting out of Mexico, and I would hear by my trainer and other people saying that this guy is a 10 rounder fighting. Has had so many 10 round fights. So I was happy, and he was real. His style of fighting was very awkward and was it was hard to figure out because he had real good defense as well. So it was a good fight. It was a good fight. So, but we won the decision again. But the second time was I was the victor.
Did you feel any relief or any pressure lifted off your shoulders after that win?
Um, I was confident I was going to win that fight because I knew the first fight I could have done better. But it was the experience that I was lacking. So the second fight, I knew I could I was going to take it.
I mentioned that was 15 wins in a row there. In those 15 wins, you also won the USBA bantamweight title. How did it feel to win your first title?
Um, my first title, it was. I feel real happy, and like I said, my goal was to win championships, and that was another um, championship that was going to lead me to the top, the one that we everybody wants. And when my manager and trainer first got the word of this, this opportunity, they called me and then they told me, there's a fight that's been offered, and I'm going to take it. And they said his name is Diego Rosario. I said, and then and my trainer said, this is it's a good fight. This guy is good, but I know you can take it. I know you're going to take him. Um, so I said, I mean, whatever y'all want, this is the opportunity that we've been looking for. This is. I mean, we all get opportunities, and if you don't take advantage of that opportunity, you know, who knows when the other opportunity is going to come. So we went there and we trained hard. I think it was like a 2 weeks notice, and I said, no, we're going to take it. And man, I started training hard and doing what I had to do. And we went there. We went to Atlantic City, and we got the job done, like in the seventh round, I believe.
So that 15 fight win streak took you to a world title shot. As you said a moment ago, what you was aiming for the big titles. You fought Jeff Chandler. You did come up short that night over 15 rounds against a great fighter in Chandler. How was the experience for you?
Uh, it was to me just thinking about the world championship, a goal of mine that I wanted to win. This is like I've said earlier. This is every fighter's goal is to win a world title. Going there and fighting, and it was a national. At that time, it was a white world of sports. Um, and Chandler being had a lot of the experience. It's I was I was just so happy to be there. And Chandler, I mean, he's a tough guy. He was a tough guy. He could take a punch. He was in good shape. He was just tough guy. But I that day that was sometimes as us as fighters, sometimes we have a good day, sometimes a bad day, and that day Jeff Chandler did what he had to do. He did what he had to do. So we know what happened. But we went the 15 round decision. For me, going 15 rounds was also that was the first time, and how it going the whole distance, how it felt.
Did it show that you belonged at that level?
Yes, I've always knew I had that ability. I always knew I could. I had since I was a kid, I had dreams of becoming a world champion. I had dreams of being a world champion. Sometimes I would just see myself at that in that position. So I knew there was something. So just being at that level, I knew I could do it.
You mentioned obviously you was pleased to be there, world title fight. It's what you'd aimed for all your career and all your life. Was you in awe of the moment at all? Was you in awe of the world title being on the line?
Yes, I was in awe. I was, man, I'm here. I just couldn't believe I was there at that point.
Now, obviously, didn't go your way that time, but 8 more wins after that fight and another world title shot against Richie Sandoval. Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas. What was it like to fight in Vegas, first of all?
I find in Vegas at Caesar Palace, and knowing that's where a lot of the greats were fighting at that time, uh, and me being there that night, finding the other card of Marvin Hagler, and then Thomas Hearns, and me there, it just like I said, I've worked hard and I belong there.
You stopped Richie in the seventh round to become world champion. Do you recall your emotions at the time?
Um, I feel very happy that I had accomplished my goal. I felt the way it ended, it was sad the way it ended. Um, the way Richie Sandoval had to be taken to the hospital. Um, but I know that's part of the sport. We all, when we go in there in the ring, I know, and a lot of fighters know that anything could happen. It's a risk that we all take. Um, like I said, I was just happy, and I won the championship, but I was sad the way how it ended.
Did that, with what happened at the end, did that take away your happiness from winning that title at all?
Um, I don't. Um, I know. I know. I told my parents to go and to go to the hospital to find out how Sandoval was doing. I didn't go because I didn't know how his family was going to react. That's why I didn't go.
Of course. What did it mean to you to fulfill your dreams and become a world champion?
Um, I mean, it's my ultimate goal. That, and I won the championship, and that's what I wanted. All I ever wanted was become a world champion. That's all, and I did it.
How proud does that make you now, looking back all these years later?
Well, um, I won. I won the championship, but then when I won the championship, I made other goals. I wanted to win three more world titles in different weights. But my weight, I had trouble going up in weight. I couldn't go up in weight. My weight was always at 118, 118. So so I had to deal with it. Um, but I did feel great win the title, and then when I set other goals to winning other titles, it was just a little. Um, and and the years pass so quick. But if you don't get those chances, those opportunities, they just you go up in age and you get older, and you know when you're training, your body gets tired. Um, and I think a lot of things that happen in between, it's just um, it just didn't work out for me that time. It didn't work out. Maybe in my other life it will.
Absolutely. So you did unfortunately lose a title in the next fight, but 4 years later and 20 fights later, you won your second world title. Did you feel that the opportunity or the time to be a champion again had passed at all?
Um, I think it came in at the right time. Um, when I fought that because in between there I fought for the WBC as well. Um, but then WBO came about, and then knowing knowing that if I win the fight, my brother and I, Orlando and I, could really make history, and that was my goal at that time. That I wanted to make history of being the first two brothers to simultaneously hold world titles at the same time. That was my other goal at that time. That was my push. So so that was my thing. Just win another title to make this story.
Within boxing, a lot of fighters will go to the gym to earn those extra 1%, whether it be within discipline, whether it be within putting the miles on the road, whatever it may be. Do you feel for you, you got an extra 1% by setting goals and having a target to achieve?
Yes, I mean, well, to me, I always had to set a goal. What is my target? What is it that I want to accomplish? And and that will just motivate me for the running, the runs, the training, the sparring, everything that's involved in getting ready for a fight. I was always dedicated. I was always motivated to accomplish that certain goal. Um, I never, no, nobody had to tell me what to do. I knew what I had to do. I did it because I had to do it.
Of your two world title wins, which one, if either, meant more to you?
My title wins. Well, they both were meaningful. Both championships. Every title that I have in my USBA titles were meaningful because that was the step to go to where I want to get. Um, and like I said, my goal was just to win world titles. That was my ultimate goal. I didn't care about anything else. I just wanted to win a title.
You mentioned a moment ago your brother, your little brother, Orlando. I spoke to him recently, as you know, and he told me when he was 10, he went to the boxing gym because you were there. You were his role model, is what he told me. He saw the work you put in. He saw that you wanted to become world champion, and he told himself that's what he wanted to do too, because it's what you done. How did it feel to be a role model to your little brother, Orlando?
Well, I feel um, when we're boxing and Orlando wanted to fight, wanted to turn pro. I wanted to be an example of what he needs to do, what he needed to become a world champion or to get to that level, the high level, the level that every fighter wants to get to. And I knew what I had to do to show him. So I would take him with me to train, to run in the mornings, 4:30 in the mornings, 4 in the morning, 4:35 in the mornings. I would take him along with me so he'll know the kind of running that he needs to do. And then to the gym, when I went to the gym, I wanted to train hard so he'll know what he needed to do. So that's just by taking him and him looking at me, I knew he was going to get the idea of what he needed to do. But he ended up doing a lot better than I did. And I'm proud of him. And I feel that everything he accomplished, I accomplished. That's the way I feel.
Was there ever a moment where you looked at Orlando, whether it be in the gym or in a fight, and you just felt something click and you knew he would be a success?
I'm sorry?
Was there ever a moment where you watched Orlando, whether it be in the gym or in a fight, and you just knew at that moment that he would be a success?
Yes. Orlando and I would spar a lot. We would spar all the time. And I would spar with him and I would put pressure on him because knowing what he needed to do. But he had he did have a different style than I did, um, and which was very a lot more more technique, more talented than I did actually that I did, and I knew he could. He eventually was going to get a world championship. I knew um, I knew he was going to do something more than I did,
You
and was I was proud of that.
You said there you're proud of that, and you mentioned twice now that you're proud of Orlando and the career he had and the success that he had. Do you feel proud that he essentially went to the boxing gym and started boxing because of you, because he followed yourself as you followed your older brothers as well? Does that give you great pride knowing that you almost provided this great life for Orlando?
Yes, I am happy. I wanted the best for him. I didn't want him to get hurt. I want him to train because I knew if he trained hard, he would be in good shape, and it was going to be hard for him to really, really get hurt. Um, so I just wanted to show him what he needed to do, and I am proud that he got that idea and learned um, what he had to do from me. I'm very proud of that.
Did you feel any pressure knowing that you had to show him and be that example to him?
Not at all. Not at all. I was happy and I was glad to do what I had to do to show him what he had to learn.
And just back to yourself, Gabby, the last couple of questions. First of all, who would you say was the toughest opponent you had, whether that be in a fight or in a spar in the gym?
Uh, I had a lot of my toughest opponent. Mm, there were I had several tough fights, but like I said, sometimes fighters have off nights, we're off and then we're on. Uh, so I don't know if I was on an off day that day. I don't know. What if I was in a good day? Maybe it would have been different. But I did have several tough fights. Some at 122 non-title fights, but they were like at 120 higher weights. And then my My fight with Chandler, that was a tough fight. Um, but there were several that were. I mean, it was the will to win. Who wants to win? That type of fight.
And the last question I wanted to ask you, end it on a happy note. What is your favorite memory from your career?
Well, just winning the titles and making my parents happy.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Gabby, I want to thank you very much for your time. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you, and thank you for taking me through your journey.
James, thank you for this interview. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, honestly. Thank you.